The spiritual essence of ancient Japanese forests. Imagine walking through an ancient forest in Japan. The morning mist swirls around gnarled tree trunks, and somewhere in the distance, a bell tolls at a mountain shrine. Here, in this ethereal landscape, you might find yourself wondering, are you truly alone? According to ancient Japanese belief, you never are. Every tree, every rock, every whisper of wind could be the dwelling place of a kami, a god or spirit that shapes the very fabric of Japanese reality. Welcome to a world where gods number not in the hundreds or thousands, but in the millions. This is the realm of Yaoyorozu no Kami, the 8 million gods of Japan. But don't let the number fool you. 8 million is not a literal count. In Japanese tradition, it represents infinity, an endless pantheon of deities that inhabits every corner of the natural world. Picture this. You're standing in your kitchen, preparing your morning coffee. In ancient Japan, the knife you're using would have its own god. The fire heating your water, sacred. Even the threshold of your front door would be watched over by its own deity. This might sound strange to Western ears, but this worldview has shaped Japanese culture for over 2,000 years. Let's start our journey where Japanese mythology itself begins, in darkness. According to the Kojiki, Japan's oldest written record, the universe was once a formless chaos, like an ocean of clouds where no light penetrated. From this chaos emerged the first gods, including a remarkable pair, Izanagi and Izanami, the divine couple tasked with creating the Japanese archipelago. Their story reads like a cosmic romance. Standing on the floating bridge of heaven, they dipped a jeweled spear into the primordial sea. As they pulled it out, the drops that fell became the first island of Japan. But this was just the beginning. Together, they would create more islands, mountains, rivers, and even the gods who would populate this new world. But their tale takes a dark turn. After giving birth to the god of fire, Izanami was fatally burned and descended to Yomi, the land of the dead. Grief-stricken, Izanagi followed her there, an ancient Japanese parallel to the Greek myth of Orpheus and Eurydice. But when he found her in the shadows, she was no longer the beautiful goddess he had known. Corrupted by death, she had become a rotting corpse. Fleeing in terror, Izanagi sealed the entrance to Yomi with a massive boulder, trapping his beloved wife forever in the underworld. This act of separation created one of the fundamental principles of Shinto, the distinction between purity and impurity, between the realm of the living and the dead. But it's what happened next that would shape the course of Japanese mythology forever. When Izanagi purified himself in a river after his escape from Yomi, something extraordinary occurred. As he washed his left eye, the sun goddess Amaterasu was born. From his right eye emerged Tsukuyomi, god of the moon, and from his nose came Susanoo, the tempestuous god of storms and the sea. These three deities would become central figures in Japanese mythology, but none more so than Amaterasu. As the sun goddess and heavenly ancestor of the Japanese imperial line, she would come to represent the very heart of Japanese cultural identity. Her story introduces us to one of the most fascinating aspects of Japanese mythology, the complex relationship between the divine and the human. Unlike the distant, transcendent god of monotheistic religions, Amaterasu and her fellow kami are intimately involved in human affairs. They can be temperamental, jealous, and even foolish, displaying very human qualities alongside their divine powers. Take, for example, the famous tale of Amaterasu hiding in a cave, plunging the world into darkness because of her brother Susanoo's violent pranks. This story isn't just a myth. It's a window into the Japanese understanding of divinity. The gods, despite their power, are not perfect. They're not even always dignified. In fact, what finally lured Amaterasu out of her cave wasn't a noble plea or divine intervention. It was curiosity about the raucous party the other gods were throwing outside, complete with a risque dance performance by the goddess Ame no Uzume on an overturned washtub. This very human quality of the kami reflects a profound truth about Japanese spirituality. The divine isn't found in some distant heaven, but right here in the material world. It's in the splash of a mountain stream, the crack of thunder in a summer storm, the steam rising from a hot spring. Even in modern Japan, this ancient understanding continues to influence how people interact with their environment. But what makes Japanese mythology truly unique isn't just its great gods and cosmic origins. It's the countless smaller deities that inhabit every corner of daily life. These are the gods that might surprise Western viewers the most, the ones that challenge our very conception of what a deity can be. Consider the humble toilet god. Yes, you heard that right. In traditional Japanese homes, a deity called Kawaya no Kami was believed to protect the family bathroom. While this might seem amusing to modern ears, it reflects a profound understanding that even the most mundane aspects of life deserve respect and recognition. Or take Inari, one of Japan's most beloved deities. Visit Japan today, and you'll find over 30,000 shrines dedicated to this god of rice, prosperity, and fertility. Inari's messengers are foxes, clever, mysterious creatures that can shapeshift into human form. These fox statues, often seen wearing red bibs and holding keys or scrolls in their mouths, guard shrines throughout the country. But here's something fascinating. Many modern Japanese businesses still maintain small Inari shrines in their offices, mixing ancient tradition with contemporary corporate culture. Then there are the yokai, supernatural beings that blur the line between gods and monsters. These aren't quite kami, but they're an essential part of Japan's spiritual ecosystem. Imagine a world where an old umbrella might suddenly sprout one eye and a long tongue, hopping around on one leg during rainy nights. Or where a tea kettle might transform into a playful tanuki, raccoon dog, when no one's looking. These aren't just fairy tales. They're part of a complex mythology that recognizes the potential for magic in everyday objects. But perhaps the most profound aspect of Japan's 8 million gods is how they've shaped the Japanese relationship with nature. In the West, we often view nature as something to be conquered or protected. In Japanese mythology, nature itself is divine. Every magnificent mountain, every ancient tree, every bubbling spring might be the dwelling place of a kami. Take Mount Fuji, Japan's iconic peak. To Western eyes, it's a stunning natural landmark, but in Japanese tradition, it's also a goddess, a portal between heaven and earth, and a source of spiritual power. The same goes for the great cedar trees that stand guard outside Shinto shrines, their trunks wrapped in sacred rope called shimenawa. Some of these trees are over 1,000 years old, and they're not just viewed as natural monuments. They're seen as senior members of the community. This brings us to one of the most fascinating aspects of kami worship, the way it bridges the gap between the natural and human worlds. Unlike many Western religious traditions, which often place humanity above or separate from nature, Japanese mythology sees humans as part of nature's divine tapestry. This worldview has profound implications for everything from architecture to agriculture. Consider the traditional Japanese garden. While Western gardens often showcase human dominion over nature through geometric patterns and carefully manicured lawns, Japanese gardens aim to create a seamless harmony between human design and natural forms. Each stone, stream, and maple leaf is positioned to feel as if it grew there naturally, even though every element has been carefully planned. This respect for the divine in nature extends to Japan's traditional arts as well. The tea ceremony, for instance, isn't just about drinking tea. It's a ritual that acknowledges the sacred in the everyday. The water used to brew the tea is treated with reverence because it comes from sources watched over by water kami. The bamboo whisk used to prepare the tea is handled with respect because bamboo itself is considered sacred. Even Japan's famous cherry blossom viewing parties have a spiritual dimension. When Japanese people gather under blooming cherry trees each spring, they're not just appreciating pretty flowers, they're participating in a tradition that recognizes the divine cycle of life, death, and renewal. The brief, intense beauty of the cherry blossoms has long been associated with local deities and the impermanent nature of existence. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about Japan's 8 million gods is how they've adapted to modern life. In contemporary Tokyo, you might find a centuries-old shrine nestled between skyscrapers, its sacred space marked by a simple torii gate. Business people in suits stop by these shrines before important meetings, tossing a coin and saying a quick prayer to the local kami. It's a seamless blend of the ancient and modern that characterizes so much of Japanese culture. This enduring connection between the sacred and the everyday becomes most visible during Japan's countless festivals, or matsuri. These aren't just community celebrations. They're moments when the boundary between the human and divine worlds grows thin. During these festivals, the kami are believed to descend from their spiritual realm to join in the celebrations, blessing the community with their presence. Take the famous Gion Festival in Kyoto. Every July, enormous floats weighing up to several tons are pulled through the ancient capital's streets. These aren't just parade decorations. They're mobile shrines, temporary homes for the kami as they travel through the city. The festival began over 1,000 years ago as a plea to the gods to end a devastating plague. Today, it's a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage event, but for many participants, its spiritual significance remains unchanged. But perhaps nothing illustrates the lasting influence of the 8 million gods better than Japan's New Year's celebrations. While much of the world rings in the new year with parties and fireworks, Japanese people traditionally begin their year with Hatsumode, the first shrine visit. In the first few days of January, millions of people across Japan brave cold winter weather to visit their local shrines, hoping to receive the blessings of the kami for the year ahead. This brings us to one of the most fascinating aspects of Japan's polytheistic tradition, its remarkable resilience. Unlike many ancient belief systems that vanished with modernization, Japan's 8 million gods have adapted and endured. Even in our digital age, new kami continue to emerge. In recent years, some Japanese people have half-jokingly begun leaving offerings at shrines to the god of electronics when their smartphones or computers malfunction. What's truly remarkable is how this ancient animistic worldview might actually be more relevant today than ever before. In an era of environmental crisis, the Japanese understanding that every river, mountain, and forest is sacred offers a powerful alternative to the Western view of nature as a resource to be exploited. The belief that everything, from the grandest mountain to the humblest kitchen tool, deserves respect and care might be exactly what our modern world needs. Consider how this worldview influences modern Japanese technology and design. Japan's famous bullet trains, for instance, were inspired by the kingfisher, a bird considered sacred in many local traditions. The engineers who redesigned the trains to reduce noise pollution weren't just solving a technical problem. They were following in the footsteps of their ancestors, seeking harmony between human innovation and natural wisdom. This brings us back to where we started, that misty forest where our journey began. The next time you hear about Japan's 8 million gods, remember, this isn't just an ancient myth or a quaint cultural tradition. It's a sophisticated philosophical system that offers profound insights into how humans might better relate to each other and to the world around us. In many ways, the kami are mirrors, reflecting humanity's highest aspirations and deepest fears. They remind us that the sacred isn't found only in grand temples or cosmic myths, but in the simple moments of daily life, in the steam rising from a bowl of rice, in the whisper of wind through bamboo leaves, in the quiet dignity of an elderly neighbor carefully tending their garden. As we face the challenges of the 21st century, from environmental degradation to social alienation, perhaps we could learn something from this ancient wisdom. The concept of 8 million gods isn't about overwhelming us with divine beings. It's about reminding us that everything is connected, that everything has value, that everything deserves respect. In modern Japan, you might see a businessman in a crisp suit pause before entering a forest, bowing slightly to show respect to the local kami. You might notice a young woman in the latest fashion leaving an offering at a tiny shrine tucked between convenience stores. These aren't relics of the past. They're living examples of how ancient wisdom can adapt to modern life. The 8 million gods of Japan teach us that the divine isn't something distant or separate from our daily lives. It's right here, in this moment, in every breath we take, in every object we touch, in every person we meet. In a world that often feels increasingly divided and materialistic, this might be exactly the kind of spiritual wisdom we need. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Japan's mystical world. If you've enjoyed exploring the realm of the Yaoyorozu no Kami, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell to stay updated on more fascinating stories about Japanese history and culture. Also, let us know in the comments about which aspects of Japan's spiritual traditions you'd like to learn more about. Until next time, remember, in the world of the 8 million gods, every moment is sacred and every viewer is special. Thank you for watching.